keep in mind, take a look at it and see. Now, the Kalikow case, changing gears again, to me is really, it's what happened was that a marital trust was set up, commonly used in estate planning. Marital trust, a qualified terminable interest, or QTIP, if you see on the screen, requires that income be paid out to the surviving spouse at least annually. And many will say quarter annually. Some will just say annually, but the income has to be paid out. In this particular case, the income was not paid out, and there was an underpayment for years of the QTIP income. That would have concerned me as the trustee, because, gee, if I'm not paying the income out, does that destroy the QTIP treatment so that the marital deduction in the estate of the first spouse to die could be jeopardized? I don't know how that gets played out, but that would concern me, not adhering to the terms of the trust. Alan, any thoughts on that? What happens?
Yeah, you have to adhere to the terms of a trust.
Right. And what happens if you don't?
Bad things happen.
Do they go back? Bad things should happen, but I don't know if they can actually go back if the tax year is closed for the estate and disallow the marital deduction. But the whole thing would really concern me. No, I don't think any advisor anywhere would say intentionally ignore the terms of a trust.
I agree. And, you know, family members say, well, this is what dad wanted, but we're going to do it our way. No one's going to complain. Don't worry about it. Let's ignore what the trust agreement says. And then you get a bratty grandchild when they turn age 18. They sue the living daylights out of everyone that they can see and find so that they can get more drug money. And, you know, we see this happen in family situations. So follow what the trust says or get a court reformation. Don't ignore these trusts. I think that's the most important lesson of Kalikow. I think you're muted, Marty.
Sorry about that. Let's go on. So in this case, the numbers are really big, and there was, in fact, a lawsuit. So what happened is a settlement was reached, and the settlement was paid, and interest was paid on it, and then they wanted to treat the payment as a deduction, and the IRS said no. And the court agreed, and it was not upheld. So I guess lesson number one from this is you're not going to get a deduction in this kind of context for the settlement payment. The main lesson is you got to adhere to the terms of a trust. And this is why I always encourage people that have trust to make sure that they have an annual review meeting with their advisors and make sure they're adhering to the terms of the trust. If you sit down with your attorney, your accountant, whatever, your wealth advisor, and preferably all the above, and you have a discussion about the terms of the trust, somebody's going to read the trust and say, hey, you got to pay income or you can't pay income, whatever it is appropriate for the trust. You want to adhere to it. You don't want to get into these kind of problems. The other issue, which is more significant to me, and we're not going to belabor it, but I think it's just another one of the myriad of lessons like this that we see all the time, Alan, is the negative consequences of family disharmony. This estate plan had kids from a different marriage, grandkids suing, everybody suing. Went on for 10 years. 10 years. Can you imagine the cost in terms of family angst that a 10-year lawsuit of this magnitude created? Can you imagine the legal fees on both sides? Clearly, this big extended family is not getting together at the same table for Thanksgiving dinner. It's tragic. I think it's really important, and this to me is the key sort of message of the case. Try to get plans coordinated. Try to think through the what ifs. Get your advisors involved. Try to think through how things can go wrong and try to plan to mitigate those problems. When you have this level of a family dispute, the only one that wins in this case are the litigators. The estate planners don't win, the family doesn't win, the trustees don't win. It's an awful, awful experience. And I just wish more people would spend the time talking to their advisors, not just say, this is what I want to do. How will this is what I'm thinking of doing. How will it play out? What can we do to shore it up so there's less chance of a fight? That needs to be front and center in a lot of planning, especially when there's a blended family. Alan, any thoughts on that?
No, you said it wonderfully.
Yeah, it's just